During the catastrophic flood, my husband's family drove me out of the house. A hen that doesn't lay eggs only knows how to eat. Hurry up and get out to buy food, Chen Xiaowan. If a useless person like you can't even bring back some food, you might as well die outside. But outside, the flood was raging, and there were no supermarkets open at all. When I knocked on the door asking my husband to let me in, two men covered my mouth and dragged me away. It was only before I died that I realized they had actually traded me for food, reborn and back. I hold a system in my hands, ready to make my husband's family pay the price. To my surprise, not only did they survive, but they also awakened supernatural abilities. Chen Xiaowan, what are you still standing there for? Are you dead? Don't you know to hurry up and cook? Mother-in-law He Yunmei stood at the bedroom door with her hands on her hips, scolding loudly enough to be heard 2 miles away. I looked at the scene before me in a frenzy of joy. I had actually been reborn. The heavy rain outside continued, and the flood had already reached the 3rd floor, showing no signs of stopping. I looked at the water level downstairs. This is the 6th day of the apocalypse. I died on the 7th day of the last apocalypse. Since heaven has given me a chance to start over, I will do whatever it takes to take revenge for myself. I quickly got up and rushed into the kitchen. Sure enough, I saw that there was hardly any food left in the fridge. Ding, congratulations, host, you have bound the righteous cheese system of the apocalypse. This system is dedicated to collecting righteous energy in the apocalypse to exchange for points. The more points you earn, the more rewards you receive, and points can be exchanged for any item in the store. Righteousness, what the hell, system, it's the positive and vigorous energy, abbreviated as positive energy. The host can now choose a building as a place to collect energy. An image of the Burj Khalifa I saw online floated into my mind. I thought it looked quite nice, so I took out my phone to ask the system, is something like this okay? Make it a bit bigger, taller, and more beautiful. Just place it in that empty space to the north. The next moment, a wave of dizziness flashed through my mind. Looking out the window again, a massive tower-like structure suddenly appeared in the distance. Soaring into the clouds, the DB tower has been completed, and the host can move in at any time. In my mind, the interior of the DB tower emerged, a multi-story building equipped with everything, including parks, shopping malls, restaurants, guest rooms, hospitals, and schools. Most importantly, all the resources in the system come from the system itself and do not need to be purchased from reality. This is simply a perfect retreat, without any hesitation. I took all the meat and vegetables from the fridge, prepared 6 dishes and a soup, and steamed a large pot of rice. Anyway, I'm leaving. How can I not finish making food for you all? Chen Xiaowan, are you crazy? Why are you doing so much? Are you a pig? My sister-in-law Zhou Linlin pointed at the table full of dishes with dissatisfaction. You have no idea how to be frugal and manage a household. How did my brother end up marrying such a wasteful person like you? The grandmother chimed in. It's not just about being wasteful. After all these years, she can't even have a child. She's just a hen that doesn't lay eggs. I could raise a dog and it would still be able to breed. What a sin my old Zhou family has committed. I pretended not to hear their words, smiling on the outside while cursing inwardly, then turned to call my husband Zhou Liqing for dinner. Honey, I've noticed you haven't had much of an appetite these past few days and you've lost weight. I've specially made a few extra dishes for you to try. Zhou Liqing is a drunkard, usually lazy and only doing odd jobs. He doesn't care about the essentials of cooking, he only focuses on satisfying his own cravings. Alright, we'll buy more after we finish eating. Stop nagging and eat. After saying that, he took a bottle of white liquor from the kitchen and poured himself a full glass. It's easy for him to say that. He doesn't even earn enough in a month to buy himself a drink. And all the household expenses are covered by me, while he enjoys himself. Just as I was about to pick up some food, my mother-in-law slapped my chopsticks away. Eat, eat, eat. What are you eating for? Don't you see if you deserve it? It's good enough for you to have some plain rice. You still want vegetables? I pretended to look wronged and glanced at Zhou Liqing, but he didn't even look at me. Zhou Linlin maliciously threw over a chicken bone she had finished gnawing on. Eat it. Don't say our family mistreats you. There's still some meat on it. Go ahead and gnaw on it. After saying that, she asked Zhou Liqing, brother, don't you think your wife is worse than a dog? Even mom said that raising a dog can lead to puppies. yet she hasn't given you any children. I think you should let her go as soon as possible and find someone better for childbearing." Zhou Liqing was eating with his mouth full, shot me an unhappy glare, and grunted. My mother-in-law strongly agreed. "That's right. I think Xiao Yu from our village is great, much better than this waste." Zhou Liqing smiled and said, "If it weren't for the fact that she can still serve me, I would have kicked her out long ago." They were discussing how to make me leave without any regard for my feelings. The next day, there was only a little bit of rice left at home, not even a single vegetable leaf to be found. The leftovers from yesterday had all gone into Zhou Liqing's stomach. While my mother-in-law and sister-in-law's stomachs were growling from hunger, Chen Shaowan, "Hurry up and go buy some food, we're about to starve. If it weren't for you cooking all the food yesterday, we wouldn't be starving now. It's all your fault." "Yeah, blame me, but I didn't see you eat any less yesterday." My mother-in-law cooked the last bit of rice with water to make a thin porridge, and she and Zhou Linlin each had a bowl, clearly with no intention of sharing any with me. "Mom. With such heavy rain outside, the flood is almost reaching the 4th floor. Where am I supposed to go to buy food?" I stammered an explanation, pretending to be scared. Zhou Linlin suddenly stood up from the sofa and pushed me out. "If you can't have children, that's one thing, but you can't even bring back a vegetable. What are you even living for? You might as well drown outside. Dying would at least save some food." Hatred suddenly filled my heart. This ungrateful wretch. Who is it that made me unable to have children? Back then, Zhou Linlin fell in love early and found a little thug. After a few sweet days, this scumbag started beating her. The most serious incident involved a knife. At a critical moment, I shielded Zhou Linlin, and the knife stabbed into my lower abdomen. Because of the injury to my uterus, the doctor said it would be difficult for me to get pregnant again. Not only is Zhou Linlin ungrateful, but now she is also cursing me with my mother-in-law, calling me a useless person who can't have children. Her conscience must have been eaten by a dog. My mother-in-law saw that I didn't want to go forward and pushed me instead, while Zhou Liqing sat on the sofa playing on his phone, showing no intention of helping me. "Husband, I don't want to go. Please save me." Zhou Liqing glanced at me. "It's just buying some groceries. Why so much nonsense? Remember to bring me back a few bottles of wine." Bang! The door in front of me slammed shut, and I changed my pleading expression, a smirk appearing at the corner of my lips. "You can just starve. The outdoor air is humid and stuffy, making it very uncomfortable, and the flood outside the residential building emits a faint stench in the high temperatures. I can no longer hold back and hurriedly summoned the system. System, please transport me to the DB tower." "System, okay, host." In the blink of an eye, I found myself standing in the lobby of the 1st floor of the tower. The comfortable temperature and fresh air felt like they belonged to a different world than the one outside. The interior of the tower is luxurious, with dedicated staff on every floor. Who are these people? I looked in surprise at the well-trained individuals dressed in uniform work attire before me. The system, these are NPCs specifically equipped by the system, primarily serving the normal operation of the DB tower. The host can directly issue commands to them, and all NPCs guarantee 100% loyalty to the host. In addition, the host has absolute control within the tower, and no one can harm the host inside. This really is a personalized system. I occupied the entire top floor of the tower by myself, first taking a hot bath, then ordering 3 dishes and a soup from the system. After eating my fill, I didn't forget to have some fruit for dessert, feeling so comfortable that I lay back on the sofa and closed my eyes. It wasn't until the afternoon that I managed to exchange 2 spoiled loaves of bread with the system, and then I sat in my makeshift little boat and paddled back home. "Why did you take so long to buy something? Do you want to starve us to death?" Zhou Liqing irritably slapped me, then snatched the bread from my hand, tore it open, and started eating. "Where's my liquor?" I bent down to dodge, pretending to be very tired. "There are no supermarkets open." I ran around a lot to exchange this bread with my necklace. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law heard the noise and came out, snatching another loaf of bread. The 2 of them finished it in no time. "Is that all? Don't you know to exchange for more? This little bit isn't enough for anyone. My mom and I have been hungry all day." After saying that, Zhou Linlin immediately pushed me outside. I dodged to the side. "I'll go out to exchange tomorrow. I don't have the strength today." "What if I can't come back? Who will go out to get food in the future?" It's so dangerous outside now, and none of them are willing to go out. After weighing the pros and cons, they finally let me off the hook. In the end, Zhou Linlin irritably turned around and went back to the room. By evening, Zhou Liqing was cursing out of hunger, and I took the opportunity to lean over and whisper, "Honey, I ran into those two thugs on the 9th floor while I was out exchanging food today. They said they have their eyes on Linlin, and if we let Linlin spend the night with them, they would give us food as a reward." Zhou Liqing's eyes lit up after hearing this. "Why didn't I think of that?" He grinned at me. "Tomorrow, you go with Linlin and bring back more food." I felt uneasy under his gaze and cursed him silently as this beast, but I could only flatter him with my words. "Honey, I like Linlin, this unmarried young girl. How could I possibly attract someone like me, a married woman? Besides, I usually do a lot of heavy work and have great strength, and I still need to go out to find food. We can't just focus on what's upstairs. What will we do if they run out of food?" Zhou Liqing thought what I said made sense. "All right, let's do it your way." Early the next morning, Zhou Liqing sent me upstairs to talk, and I knocked on the door of those two scoundrels, suppressing the fear in my heart. In the end, they were willing to exchange 5 packs of instant noodles for 3 days with Zhou Linlin. Zhou Liqing was already starving and immediately told them to come down to collect the person. He pushed the completely unaware Zhou Linlin out the door. Watching helplessly as his own sister was dragged away, the grandmother wanted to rush forward to save someone, but was kicked down by Zhou Liqing. "What's all the fuss about? It's just sleeping with someone. I'm almost starving to death. Do you want your own son to starve for that cheap thing?" The screams from upstairs continued for several hours, and the grandmother sat on the sofa with tears in her eyes, feeling heartbroken, but had no intention of saving anyone. I brought out the cooked instant noodles, and as soon as the grandmother smelled them, she immediately ran over and served herself a full bowl. I thought she wouldn't eat the food obtained by selling her daughter. Of course, instant noodles were not for me. To avoid being scolded at home, I wisely took the initiative to go out and find something to eat. However, I would never return. The food and stored water at home were already gone, so let them starve to death in despair. I just didn't expect that things would go wrong. Not only did Zhou Liqing and He Yunmei survive, but even Zhou Linlin was still alive. Back in the tower, I quickly registered a new account online while the external power system and network had not yet collapsed, and posted a message that the DB tower was accepting survivors. Soon, the news stirred up a huge uproar online, because staying in the DB tower is free of charge. And points will be issued regularly based on each person's situation for purchasing supplies within the tower. The only requirement is to pass the integrity test at the tower entrance. Even though the heavy rain continued outside, many people without food at home still took the risk to come seeking refuge. Soon, more and more people moved in, and the points within the system increased significantly. These residents spontaneously became my free promoters, constantly notifying their friends and family to come and stay. I stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows on the top floor of the tower, watching the water level rise below. My house is located on the 7th floor of a residential building. At this rate, even if Zhou Liqing and the others don't starve, they will drown, as this old residential building is only 10 stories high at most. It's just a pity that there were no surveillance cameras installed at home. Otherwise, I could have enjoyed watching their current miserable state. 5 days later, I saw through the telescope that the residential building where my home was located had been completely submerged by the flood. I happily opened 3 bottles of champagne to celebrate. If it weren't for the weather, I would have definitely set off 10,000 firecrackers outside the tower. System, host. Humans in the apocalypse have begun to mutate, and many have awakened their abilities. Please be cautious if the host goes outside. I was instantly stunned. Superpowers. Is it the kind of superpower I understand? System, yes. In the apocalypse, superpowers are mainly divided into 5 categories: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. The host currently has no superpowers and should be extra cautious when facing superpowered individuals. Upon hearing this bad news, the ice watermelon in my hand instantly lost its sweetness. If everyone is given a golden finger, can't they give me another ability? However, misfortunes never come alone. I actually saw Zhou Liqing, Zhou Linlin, and He Yunmei on the 1st floor of the DB tower. Not only are they alive, but Zhou Liqing and Zhou Linlin have also awakened water abilities. No wonder they were able to escape from the residential building. Zhou Liqing shouted loudly at the entrance of the tower, trying to break through the security to get inside. I am a water element ability user. Do you dare to refuse me entry? I think you are tired of living, He Yunmei sneered as she slapped the security guard's face. Watchdog, hurry up and call your boss out. My son and daughter are both ability users. Do you know how powerful ability users are? Why don't you let him come out and welcome us in? Still as arrogant as ever, water system ability users are indeed very precious, especially now when floods are rampant and groundwater is polluted. Many drinking water sources can only be purified by water system ability users. However, I don't lack water. Why would I need a few of you worthless people? I picked up the microphone, and my instructions were clearly broadcasted through the loudspeakers at the tower entrance. Throw these troublemaking lunatics out. My DB tower only recognizes the results of righteousness tests, not any ability users. If they dare to cause trouble again, just throw them into the water. After receiving the order, the security guard was no longer polite to the three of them. At that moment, Zhou Liqing and Zhou Linlin had just awakened their abilities and did not yet have the capacity to attack with them, and they were quickly pinned to the ground by the security guard. How dare you hit me? Just wait. You're finished. Just wait until I become the captain of the ability user team. I'll show you how to deal with you. Subsequently, the three of them left on a self-made plastic boat. Cursing and swearing, I watched their figures and fell into deep thought. No matter what, these three disasters must not survive the apocalypse, otherwise, didn't I die in vain in my last life? According to the survivors who came, the authorities have established a shelter in the high ground to the north, where most of the ability users have gone, while the authorities are also making every effort to rescue survivors. The law and order have not completely collapsed yet. So I cannot openly kill those three beasts. I must think of another way. At the same time, the speed at which points are increasing in the system has also slowed down, so I need to think about how to earn points. All survivors can go to the North City Trade Center shelter. Those who cannot go out should wait for rescue at a higher place. A camouflaged helicopter flew overhead, broadcasting from a loudspeaker as it flew. Seeing the camouflage pattern on the plane instantly inspired me. When it comes to righteousness, who can compare to the soldiers? So I grabbed my phone and called the official number I found online. Hello, this is the owner of DB Tower. As a member of Huaxia, I want to do my part during this national crisis. DB Tower is willing to open its doors to all soldiers for free, providing all food and water. The other party hesitated for a while before replying that they would report to the leadership and get back to me. I wasn't surprised, after all. They needed to find someone to verify the situation at the DB Tower. An hour later, the other party called back to politely decline the proposal to accommodate all military personnel, but they hoped I could accept the injured and some survivors. No problem, the DB Tower is always open to military personnel, and as for the survivors, as long as they can pass the integrity test, I will provide free food and accommodation. The official response was quick, and by the afternoon, the injured and survivors were sent over in batches. However, only half of the survivors were able to pass the screening, while the rest were sent back the way they came. Those who checked and were excitedly exploring the tower, while those who did not pass the screening were crying and cursing. Fortunately, the military personnel maintained order and quickly sent them away. What made me happy was that my guess was correct. When the injured soldiers entered the DB Tower, the system showed that their righteousness values were dozens or even hundreds of times that of ordinary people. The system excitedly cheered in my mind. Points. These are all walking points. Host. Invite more people quickly. I looked out the window. If all goes well, they would soon accept our help. After all, the official supplies are limited, and they still have to support such a large number of survivors. 3 days later, the officials called, and a small group of soldiers would come to the DB Tower for shifts of rest. I happily agreed at once and sent someone to wait at the gate early. As soon as people arrive, the NPCs immediately arrange for them to be taken to the bathing center for a hot bath, and then to the next door for a buffet. After eating, they can return to their rooms to rest, focusing on a one-stop service. The young men looked in shock at the supplies inside the tower, repeatedly waving their hands. We just came to rest for a bit. We can't waste food. resources are scarce now, you should keep it for yourselves. A warm current surged in my heart. How can eating be called wasting? You need to be full to have the strength to save others. You can't go to battle on an empty stomach. After settling the little brothers, I fell asleep with a pillow in my arms, smiling at the ever-increasing points. With the long-term cooperation with the officials, their trust in me has been continuously increasing. The exhausted soldiers, who have been on long-term missions, take turns resting in the tower, and after a good rest, they go out again to carry out their tasks. The points in the system are already quite substantial, and it's time for me to think of a way to deal with those 3 enemies. After searching through the system store, I finally found a protective shield that can block all supernatural attacks and physical damage. Although it was a bit expensive, I gritted my teeth and bought it. Early the next morning, I headed to the shelter with the soldiers on duty. As soon as I stepped out of the tower, the stench in the air nearly knocked me over. The flood had bred countless bacteria in the high temperatures, and there were many unknown objects underwater continuously fermenting, leading to severe air pollution. There were quite a few staff members on duty at the shelter. Although the conditions were harsh, the security was relatively good. I searched for a long time in the shelter and finally found Hiyunmei's trace. She was showing off with an older woman. My son and daughter are both water element ability users. They walk with confidence in the ability user team. What DB tower? I don't care about that. I pinched myself hard, pretending to be on the verge of tears. Mom, I finally found you. Hiyunmei stared at me blankly for a long time. How are you still alive? Me, do you hear what you're saying? Does that even make sense? I held back the urge to curse and excitedly grabbed Hiyunmei. Mom, I happened to meet the owner of the DB tower while looking for food, so I've been living in the tower for a while. I specifically came back this time to find you. Hiyunmei looked at me, dressed neatly and glowing, and finally reacted. Do you know the owner of the DB tower? Are you going to take us over there? Hiyunmei had a face full of joy, as if the person she just said she didn't care about wasn't her. Yes, Mom, after a lot of coaxing, I finally got him to give me a spot. You all discuss who will move in first. Isn't that obvious? Mom is older, and with Li Qing being so filial, he will definitely let me move in first. After saying that, Hiyunmei packed her few belongings and was ready to leave with me. Mom, aren't we going to wait for Li Qing and Lin Lin? We should at least let them know. Hiyunmei waved her hand. No need. I'll have the neighbors send them a message. Let's hurry and go. How can we leave? I threw out a spot just to see the dogs fight. If we leave, won't we miss the show? Before I could even think of an excuse, Zhou Liqing and Zhou Linlin had already returned. How dare you come back? I told you to go out and find food. Where the hell did you run off to? Zhou Liqing showed no joy upon seeing me. Instead, he was furious and wanted to hit me. Zhou Linlin also had a face full of resentment. Chen Xiaowan, you damn thing. You pushed me out to get food and ran away yourself. I will make sure to kill you today. Hiyunmei immediately stood in front of me and said, Xiaowan knows the owner of the DB tower. She came back to pick us up this time, so don't wrong her. Heh. I have been married to Zhou Liqing for so many years and have never seen Hiyunmei show a good face. I didn't expect that one spot could have such great charm. Zhou Liqing and Zhou Linlin looked at me in surprise, but their expressions darkened again when they learned that there was only one spot available. Since there is only one, it should naturally be me. I am the head of the family. Zhou Liqing did not feel that there was any problem at all. Isn't sister-in-law also living in the tower? Sister-in-law, you have made me suffer so much, so it wouldn't be unfair for you to give your spot to me, right? Brother, let's pack up and go. After all, we are superhumans, and it would be an honor for the DB tower to have us. Zhou Linlin happily linked her arm with Zhou Liqing's, not even glancing at Hiyunmei. Hiyunmei, seeing that the spots were gone, shouted at the top of her lungs, Oh, my life is so miserable. My son and daughter are forcing me to death, at my age. I still have to suffer outside while they run off to enjoy themselves in the tower. I found a small stool to sit on and quietly watched as Hiyunmei cried out and rushed to fight Zhou Linlin and Zhou Liqing. Mom, you're already so old. How many years do you have left? You don't have any special abilities and contribute nothing. What are you going to do in the tower? Zhou Linlin, feeling irritated, pushed Hiyunmei to the ground. This time, He Yunmei was completely enraged and picked up a nearby wooden stick to hit Zhou Linlin. You little beast, I am your biological mother. How dare you say you're my real mother, when my brother sold me and I was being violated? Why didn't you save me? Now you expect me to save you? Dream on. Zhou Linlin's fists fell on He Yunmei like raindrops, and He Yunmei cried out to Zhou Liqing, but he ignored her completely. Soon, He Yunmei's voice grew weaker. And by the time Zhou Linlin finished venting and stopped, she had already fallen silent. I pointed at He Yunmei in surprise and asked Zhou Linlin, "Is she dead? Did you kill our mother?" Zhou Linlin, however, was unconcerned. Bah, old hag, dead is dead. How unlucky. I really didn't expect that the two who were so filial would end up like this. Then Zhou Linlin looked at me. Hurry up and hand over the things to enter the tower. Who do you think you are to deserve to live in the tower? Me. The security in the tower only recognizes people. The quota for entering the tower cannot be transferred. Only I can use facial recognition to bring one more person in. Discuss with your brother about who will move to the tower with me. Zhou Linlin stared at me for a long time, as if trying to confirm whether what I said was true. Seeing my serious expression, she finally panicked. Brother, you exchanged me for food back then. This time, don't even think about it. The quota my wife brought is naturally for me to use. Zhou Liqing, do you have any humanity left? I am your sister, you have humanity. You killed our mother. I quietly sat down on the small stool, planning to continue watching the show. I didn't expect that before the two could make a move, the patrolling people heard the commotion and arrived. Upon seeing He Yunmei's body on the ground, they immediately surrounded the three of us. Fighting is prohibited in the shelter. And murder is an even more serious crime. To quickly suppress various riots caused by natural disasters, killing someone in the shelter will result in immediate execution. Zhou Linlin pointed at me with a pale face. It's her, she killed my mom. I turned to Zhou Liqing and whispered, "Honey, the tower." In the next moment, Zhou Liqing pushed Zhou Linlin out. The one who killed her is her. I saw her beat my mom to death with my own eyes. As Zhou Linlin was taken away, she twisted her body wildly trying to grab Zhou Liqing, cursing and swearing. Zhou Liqing, you beast, you even harmed your own sister, may you die a terrible death. Zhou Linlin's cries gradually faded away, ultimately disappearing completely after a gunshot. But Zhou Liqing showed no sadness on his face. Instead, he excitedly picked up his luggage and said, "Wife, let's go." In my past life, I had already experienced the cold-bloodedness of this family, but I never expected it to be even worse in this life. Their utter lack of humanity is disgusting, and a wave of intense nausea hit me, causing me to vomit in the corner. All right, let's go. I originally just wanted to use the opportunity to enter the tower to incite infighting among the three, but unexpectedly, He Yunmei and Zhou Linlin ended up losing their lives, but in the end, it was their own doing. If they hadn't harmed me in the last life, I wouldn't have abandoned them. I opened a back door in the system and brought Zhou Liqing into the DB tower. As soon as he entered the tower, Zhou Liqing was like a country bumpkin coming to the city, wandering around with stars in his eyes. Have you been living in the tower all this time? He greedily looked at everything in the tower and casually asked me. Yeah, I've been here ever since the tower's master saved me. Then why the hell didn't you bring me in earlier? You're here enjoying yourself while I'm out there suffering. I think you're asking for death. The next moment, Zhou Liqing's slap came flying. The situation he had imagined where I begged for mercy did not happen. Instead, he was kicked out by an NPC inside the tower. NPC, fighting is strictly prohibited inside the tower. Violators will be expelled from the DB tower. Zhou Liqing clutched his stomach and got up, glaring at me with anger. Damn woman, hurry up and come over to help me. He spoke fiercely, but his body was hesitant and did not dare to make a move. I couldn't help but smirk at the sight of him grimacing in pain. The rules inside the tower are very strict, but fortunately, the environment is good and the resources are abundant. You should be more restrained from now on. I brought Zhou Liqing to a single room. This is your room. You will live here from now on, compared to the other rooms. This one is small and off to the side, and Zhou Liqing is clearly not very satisfied. Honey, since your entry into the tower was requested by me from the boss, you won't earn any points each month, but don't worry, I will share my points with you. I handed Zhou Liqing a card with the points I had transferred in advance, but it was pitifully little. It could only cover his essential expenses and 3 meals in the tower. There was no way he could eat well. Don't you live here? Zhou Liqing reached out and grabbed me. Where do you live? This room is too small. I'll stay with you. Besides, you can take care of me. Ha, how greedy, honey. In order to let you come and live here, I have to work for my boss every day now. So I'm living in the servant's room at my boss's place. And it's not convenient to bring you along. I am making things up without blinking an eye. In the first few days, Zhou Liqing was doing quite well. However, he soon realized that his points were nowhere near enough for him to squander. Having lived a life where everything was handed to him, Zhou Liqing naturally didn't think about earning points himself and directly set his sights on me. I didn't bring him in for a good time. I directly lamented that I didn't have any extra points left either. What I didn't expect was that Zhou Liqing actually tried to hit on other single women in the tower. He really overestimates himself. Who would want someone who looks like a dogtail grass? After being repeatedly complained about and warned several times, Zhou Liqing became quite irritable. Damn it, why can others enjoy the good life while I can only eat this? Others can earn so many points. Why can't you? Are you just useless? I want to have a feast. No matter what method you use, you have to let me live comfortably, even if it means selling out. If it weren't for the fact that abilities can't be used inside the tower, I would definitely kill these useless people. Zhou Liqing's eyes were red with jealousy as he looked at the people inside the tower who had abundant points. If it weren't for the strict rules inside, he would probably have rushed in to rob them. Seeing that the timing was almost right, I was also preparing to reel in my net, when I saw Zhou Liqing go downstairs to the restaurant on the monitor. I immediately rushed to the nearby Western restaurant and ordered a large table of delicacies. Sitting in the corner to feast, Zhou Liqing, passing by, saw me through the glass window and rushed in. Damn it, I eat like a vegetarian every day, and you're here eating steak. Just watch me not beat you to death. Zhou Liqing could no longer suppress his anger and wanted to make a move, but when he saw the NPC beside him raise his hand, he ultimately put it down. He pushed me aside and sat on the stool to start eating. Honey, you misunderstood. This was all ordered by the boss. He had to leave early, so he sent the leftovers to me. Otherwise, how could I eat so well? Zhou Liqing was eating with grease dripping from his mouth. When he looked up and saw my clothes and necklace, his expression darkened. After being married for a few years, I know him well enough. I can tell that he has become suspicious. For the next few days, Zhou Liqing secretly followed me, but since I spent most of my time on the top floor, he didn't have permission to come up. Occasionally, when I went downstairs to eat, he would hide in the corner and watch me. Even though I was eating well, he didn't rush out like he did last time. Meek, do you think my husband will find out? He seems like a different person lately. NPC, no way. How could he ever guess that you are the owner of the DB Tower? Me, sigh. I hope I can keep it a secret. After all, he never treated me well before. Never let me eat the good food at home. I just want him to experience the life I had before, where I couldn't eat well or dress well. NPC, why are you so afraid of him finding out? You are the tower owner, with so many people to protect you. You don't understand. The person next to you is the hardest to guard against. Besides, we are married. If something happens to me, according to the law, this tower will belong to him. He already has a volatile personality, and I'm afraid he might do something to me. NPC, that won't happen. A day as a couple is 100 days of kindness. Don't think too much. It has to be the NPC. Their acting is better than that of professional actors. I glanced at the corner where a piece of clothing was showing, then turned and returned to the top floor. Honey, I'm out of shampoo here. Do you have any? Please bring me a bottle. Before long, I received a message from Zhou Liqing. Did you just jump into action as soon as you discovered this? I'm busy and can't get away. Come up to the top floor to get it. I'll send the elevator for you. Zhou Liqing arrived quickly, and upon seeing the decoration on the top floor, his eyes went wide. Does your boss live alone on an entire floor? I nodded, yes. Without saying a word, he started to check each room, and eventually barged into the master bedroom. Don't wander around. If our boss finds out, he will be angry. Zhou Liqing pointed at the photo on the bedside table in the master bedroom. Your photo is on our boss's bedside table, you son of a bitch. you still want to deceive me. You are the boss of the DB Tower, aren't you? I pretended to be surprised and covered my mouth. How did you know? Zhou Liqing's forehead was bulging with veins, and his tightly clenched fists were turning white from the effort. Seeing that things were not right, I turned and ran. Zhou Liqing chased me into the living room and grabbed my neck. Damn it, I'll strangle you to death, you damn filthy woman. Once you're dead, everything will be mine. Go die, go die. The feeling of suffocation gradually set in, and before I passed out, I called for the NPC security personnel in the system. The most important thing is that all the supplies in the system come from the system itself and do not need to be purchased from reality. Zhou Liqing was caught in the act of committing the crime, and there were surveillance cameras I had set up in advance in the top-level living room, making his crime undeniable. The authorities are still here, and I have submitted the evidence to the official staff. Soon, I received a reply stating that killing in places like shelters, even if attempted murder, is punishable by death. Due to the ongoing heavy rain, they will not detain the person for execution and have left it for me to handle. If you're afraid, you can let the official personnel resting in the tower handle it. It seems that the friendly cooperation with the authorities during this time has been quite useful, at least between me and Zhou Liqing, this ability user. My bargaining chip is still heavier, since the authorities have spoken. I have no more reservations. I had the system specially create a cell for Zhou Liqing, filled with floodwater, and turned off the air conditioning. The entire space was damp, hot, and emitted a foul odor. In order to keep Zhou Liqing alive, I have someone deliver him 2 steamed buns and a bottle of clean water every day, not for any other reason, but to let him feel the despair I experienced before I died in my last life. The suffering I endured, he must also experience it once, 6 months later. The heavy rain ended, and the flood gradually receded. The long-lost sunlight finally appeared in the sky. Everyone was overjoyed, running outside the tower, crying and embracing each other. I thought of Zhou Liqing, whom I hadn't seen in a long time, and took the initiative to visit his cell. I saw him leaning against the window, looking emaciated. He kept murmuring, "It's over, the apocalypse is over. I want to go out. I want to go out." I scoffed, "The apocalypse is over. What does that have to do with you? Let me out. What you're doing is illegal. I'm going to call the police." Zhou Liqing's mad appearance was somewhat terrifying. I frowned, feeling that everything should come to an end. "Let me out. The apocalypse is over. I want to go outside." I handed the insane Zhou Liqing over to the officials. The NPC watched him be executed and then took the ashes back. "Let it rise. Let it rise in the flood." The NPC asked me in confusion. "Why didn't you deal with him earlier? Why let him live for so long?" I looked at the ashes floating in the water and smiled, because I want him to see hope before he dies.